Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something truly mind-bending, pushing the limits of power, destiny, and imagination. Our fanfic journey continues with What If Naruko Was Stronger Than Beerus? Part 3. In this series, we explore an alternate reality where the rules of power are rewritten, where a single character rises beyond even the gods themselves, and where every decision reshapes the fate of entire universes. If you've been following along, you already know, things are about to escalate even further. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is created for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in these videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, without wasting any more time, let's begin. Naruko took off like a rocket. There was no other way to describe how she felt. The moment she saw the familiar figure before her, she leapt into the air with a joyful laugh, her golden hair catching the light like sunshine. She reached out, wrapped her arms around her, and spun her around in a delighted circle, as if the world itself had become a playground. She didn't stop to question how everything had happened. She didn't wonder why this moment felt like a dream. All she knew was that her heart felt full, brighter and lighter than it had in a long time. Eventually, Naruko slowed and gently set her down. For a quiet moment, they simply looked at one another. Naruko blinked, her bright blue eyes widening with recognition. Those calm, steady eyes. She knew them. Samui, she whispered softly. Memories returned like warm sunlight after a cloudy day. She remembered their first meeting, how different they had seemed at first. Samui had been serious and focused, always searching for answers. Naruko, on the other hand, had been full of energy and determination, refusing to give up on what she believed in. They hadn't always agreed, but over time, something gentle had grown between them. A quiet understanding. A friendship that felt strong and steady, like a river that never stopped flowing. And now, here she was again. Are you real? Naruko asked, her voice filled with wonder rather than doubt. Samui tilted her head slightly, as if thinking carefully. Then she smiled, a small, warm smile that felt like home. I think so, she said. Naruko laughed softly, relieved. She reached out and held Samui's hands, as if making sure she wouldn't disappear. I'm really glad, Naruko said. I missed you. Samui's cheeks turned the faintest shade of pink. I remember you, she replied gently. Naruko's eyes lit up. You do? Samui nodded. You were always so bright. Like you carried your own sunshine with you. Naruko scratched the back of her head, a little embarrassed but smiling wide. Well, I try. They stood together in peaceful silence for a moment, the air around them calm and still. It felt like time had slowed down just for them. You look different, Samui said thoughtfully. Naruko chuckled. Yeah, I've changed a bit. Learned a lot too. She looked down at her hands, then back up with a confident grin. But I'm still me. That's what matters, Samui said. Naruko nodded. And you're still you. In that moment, nothing else seemed important. Not questions, not confusion, not the strange world around them. Just the simple happiness of finding someone important again. Naruko squeezed Samui's hands gently. Come on, she said with a playful spark in her eyes. Let's figure things out together. Samui gave a small nod, her expression soft but certain. And side by side, they stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next, with friendship, warmth, and a little bit of sunshine leading the way. Stand aside, she said softly, but this time, her voice carried not anger, only urgency. Naruko turned quickly, her golden hair catching the sunlight as it swayed. Where there had once been chaos, she now saw confusion, hurt, and fear in the eyes of everyone around her. The world felt unsteady, like a storm had passed through hearts rather than skies. A bright flash of energy rushed toward her, but instead of striking with harm, it dissolved into a shimmer of light as it touched her. Naruko stood still, surprised but unharmed. The air grew quiet, as if even the wind was waiting. For a moment, she closed her eyes. Inside, she could feel something stirring, not rage, not sorrow, but a deep, glowing warmth. It was the same feeling she had always carried, even when times were hard, the wish to protect, to understand, and to bring people together. She placed a gentle hand over her heart. I'm still here, she whispered. Across from her stood a powerful being, tense and uncertain. But instead of rushing forward, Naruko took a step closer calmly. Why are you hurting? She asked, her voice kind and steady. You don't have to fight to be seen. The figure hesitated. Naruko's presence began to shine, not in a blinding way, but like sunlight on a quiet morning. Her energy wasn't overwhelming, it was comforting. The ground beneath her feet seemed to settle, and the air softened. She smiled gently. I know what it feels like to be alone, she continued. But hurting others won't fix that. You can choose something different. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. It was thoughtful. Far away, those watching felt their worries begin to ease. It was as if Naruko's courage reached them too, reminding them that strength didn't have to come from anger, it could come from kindness. The powerful figure lowered their hand slowly. Naruko stepped forward one last time and offered her hand. We can figure this out together, she said. And in that quiet moment, something changed, not with a clash, but with understanding. The light around Naruko shimmered warmly, like a promise that no matter how dark things might seem, there is always a brighter path waiting to be chosen. High above a quiet, sunlit island, the wind hummed softly through the sky. What had once felt tense and dangerous now shifted into something altogether different, like the start of an unusual but meaningful lesson. Cell blinked in surprise as Naruko suddenly appeared before her, her bright teal eyes calm and focused. She moved so quickly it felt like a breeze had carried her there. Wow, Cell muttered, taken aback. You're fast. Naruko smiled gently. She didn't raise her fists or rush forward again. Instead, she floated there peacefully, her golden hair shimmering like sunlight on water. I've been practicing, she said. But this doesn't have to be a fight. Cell frowned, confused. Not a fight? Then what is this supposed to be? A challenge, Naruko replied. But not the kind where anyone gets hurt. Let's see who can understand the other better. Cell crossed his arms, unsure what to make of her. He had expected anger, maybe even fear, but not kindness. To understand? He repeated. Naruko nodded. You think strength is about overpowering others. I think it's about knowing when to stop, when to listen, and when to grow. A quiet breeze passed between them. Cell hesitated. For the first time, he didn't rush forward. Instead, he studied her. There was no mockery in her face, no trick, just steady confidence and a strange warmth. So what, he said slowly, you're counting down to something again. Naruko chuckled softly. Not a countdown to defeat. A countdown to a choice. A choice? Yes, she said. You can keep trying to prove you're the strongest. Or you can learn what that really means. Cell looked away for a moment, the sky stretching endlessly around them. And what does it mean to you? Naruko placed a hand over her heart. It means protecting, not hurting. Growing, not boasting. And helping others rise with you. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Cell exhaled. You're very different from what I expected. Naruko grinned. I get that a lot. He gave a small, uncertain smile in return. If this is your kind of challenge, then maybe I'll try it your way. Naruko brightened. Great. First lesson, balance. She floated upward a little and gestured to the open sky. Let's see how long you can stay steady without rushing. Cell followed her, slower this time, more thoughtful. The island below remained peaceful, untouched. Above it, two figures hovered, not as enemies, but as unlikely partners in a new kind of training. And somewhere in the quiet air, Naruko's cheerful voice carried. Take it slow. You'll get there. When the golden-haired ninja, Naruko, stepped forward, everything around her seemed to pause, as if the world itself was holding its breath. A strange glow flickered around the towering figure before her. Something was changing, something important. The shimmering light that once surrounded him began to fade, like a candle slowly dimming in the wind. Naruko tilted her head, her bright blue eyes full of curiosity and concern. What's happening? She whispered softly. Suddenly, a gentle burst of light appeared, and from within it, a young woman tumbled gently onto the ground. She looked as though she had just woken from a long dream. Naruko gasped and quickly rushed to her side. Hey! Are you okay? She asked kindly, kneeling beside her. The girl stirred slightly. She was alive. Relief washed over Naruko's face like warm sunlight. That's good. That's really good, she said, smiling softly. Behind them, the tall figure seemed smaller now, no longer glowing with that overwhelming energy. The air felt calmer, quieter, like a storm had passed. Naruko stood up slowly and looked around. The sky above stretched wide and peaceful, clouds drifting lazily as if nothing had happened at all. That's enough, Naruko said gently, placing her hands on her hips. No more of this. Everyone deserves a chance to rest. A sudden shimmer of light shot upward into the sky, rising higher and higher until it disappeared among the stars. A moment later, a soft sparkle lit up the heavens, like a distant firework blooming in silence. Far away, two friends stood watching the sky. "Did you feel that?" one of them asked. The other nodded. "Yeah. But it doesn't feel scary. It feels peaceful." Back on the ground, Naruko sat beside the girl, who was beginning to open her eyes. "Hi," Naruko said warmly. "You're safe now." The girl blinked, then gave a small, sleepy smile. Naruko smiled back, her heart feeling lighter. Sometimes, she thought, being strong didn't mean fighting harder. Sometimes, it meant helping others find their way back to the light. And as the gentle breeze passed by, carrying away the last traces of worry, the world felt just a little bit brighter. The wind howled across the broken island, but this time, it carried something different, not rage, not destruction, but a deep, trembling sadness. Naruko, once known as Naruto Uzumaki, tilted her head back and cried out, her voice echoing across the sky. "Damn Nivet." Her golden hair shimmered softly, glowing like sunlight through clouds, but her heart felt heavy. The ground around her had shifted and cracked, not from anger alone, but from the storm of feelings she could barely hold inside. She slowly sank to her knees, her hands trembling. I don't understand," she whispered. Nearby, two figures rested peacefully on the ground. Samui lay still, as if in a deep sleep, and number 18 breathed softly, her chest rising and falling with quiet life. Naruko noticed this and blinked. "She's okay," Naruko said gently, a small spark of hope lighting her voice. She carefully brushed a strand of wet hair from number 18's face. "You just need rest. That's all." The ocean, which had moments ago surged wildly, now calmed, its waves returning to a gentle rhythm. The sky, though still cloudy, seemed to listen. Naruko stood slowly, her legs unsteady but determined. She placed a hand over her heart. "What do I do now?" she wondered aloud. For so long, she had fought, trained, and pushed forward. But now, everything felt quiet. Too quiet. Then, a soft glow appeared in the sky. Naruko looked up, narrowing her eyes. Something bright drifted down, not fast, not frightening, but gentle, like a falling star. She raised her hand, catching the glowing light. It warmed her palm but didn't hurt. "What is this?" she murmured. A voice followed, smooth and oddly cheerful. "Did you feel that?" Naruko turned, surprised. From the fading light stepped a familiar figure, but something about him had changed. He didn't feel threatening. He didn't feel overwhelming. Just curious. Naruko frowned slightly, placing herself protectively between him and the others. "You're still here?" she asked, her tone cautious but not harsh. The figure tilted his head, smiling in a peculiar way. "Well, I suppose I am," he said. "But I've been thinking." Naruko crossed her arms. "Thinking about what?" Instead of answering immediately, he looked around at the quiet sea, the resting figures, and the sky slowly clearing above them. "About how everything doesn't need to end in a fight," he admitted. Naruko blinked. That was not what she expected. He continued, "You spoke about things like they mattered. About life. About meaning. I didn't understand before. But maybe I'd like to." Naruko studied him carefully. Her instincts told her to stay alert, but her heart told her to listen. "So what are you saying?" she asked. A grin spread across his face, not sharp, not cruel, but almost playful. "How about something different?" he said. "A challenge. But not the kind you're thinking of." Naruko raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "A tournament," he said, lifting a finger. "Not to destroy anything, but to learn. To grow. To see who we are, without tearing the world apart." Naruko stared at him for a long moment. Then she let out a small laugh, tired, but real. "You're weird," she said. "Maybe," he replied cheerfully. Naruko looked back at Samui and number 18, then at the calm ocean, and finally at the sky where sunlight was beginning to peek through. Her shoulders relaxed. "But maybe," she said softly, "that's not such a bad idea." For the first time in a long while, Naruko didn't feel like she had to fight. She felt like she had a choice. And that made all the difference. "We'll call it the Cell Games." The lightning-wreathed android then paused, smiling in a way that didn't feel very kind. 10 days from now. I'll announce the location soon, so keep an eye on the television. Bring as many fighters as you like. The more friends you have, the better your chances. He turned as if remembering something. Oh, and bring Goku too. I'd love to test my new strength against him. Naruko stood nearby, her golden hair shimmering like sunlight. She crossed her arms, her bright eyes narrowed, not in fear, but in firm determination. She didn't like the way the android spoke. It wasn't about fun or friendly competition. It sounded like a challenge meant to frighten people. The android noticed her expression. Why so serious? This should be exciting. Naruko shook her head. Games are supposed to bring people together, she said calmly. Not make them worry. For a moment, the wind rustled gently between them. Then, with a dramatic flourish, the android leapt into the sky and vanished. Naruko watched him go, her heart steady but thoughtful. She turned back toward her friends, who were resting safely nearby. I don't like this, she admitted softly. But we'll face it together. Just then, a cheerful voice called out, "Whoa!" That energy was incredible. Naruko turned quickly. A man with spiky hair and a warm smile stood there as if he had appeared out of nowhere. You must be Goku, she said, studying him. That's me. He replied happily. And you're really strong. I could feel it from far away. Naruko blinked, surprised by his easygoing nature. There are more important things right now than strength, she said, glancing at her friends. They need time to rest. Goku nodded, his expression softening. You're right. Taking care of friends comes first. Naruko smiled a little at that. Maybe he understood more than he let on. After making sure everyone was safe, the two of them walked together. So, Goku said, stretching his arms behind his head, what do you like to eat after a long day? Naruko's eyes lit up instantly. Ramen. Goku grinned. Ramen's good. But have you tried something heartier? Naruko stopped mid-step. Slowly, she turned to him, her expression serious, but not angry, just playful. Are you saying ramen isn't perfect? She asked. Goku chuckled nervously. I didn't say that exactly. Naruko placed her hands on her hips, then broke into a bright laugh. I'll make you a deal. After all this is over, I'll treat you to the best ramen ever. Then you can decide. Goku's eyes sparkled. Deal. The tension in the air faded, replaced by something lighter, hope. Naruko looked up at the sky, where the challenge still lingered like a distant cloud. 10 days. There was time to prepare, to grow stronger, and most importantly, to stand together. No matter what happens, she said quietly, we'll protect each other. That's what really matters. And with that, the journey toward the Cell Games began, not as a story of fear, but as one of friendship, courage, and the belief that even the toughest challenges can be faced with a kind heart. Piccolo, Trunks, and Mr. Popo all jumped as a bright burst of energy shimmered through the side of the lookout. When the light faded, they were surprised to see Goku floating in the air, looking a little ruffled, as if she had just finished an intense training session. I knew it. I knew we couldn't trust that android, Trunks exclaimed, throwing her hands in the air. But before she could say anything more, a streak of golden light zipped forward. A cheerful yet determined girl came flying in and bumped straight into Goku. It was Naruko. I'm telling you, it's ramen, Naruko insisted, her bright eyes shining with passion. No way. Sheshu is clearly the best. Goku replied just as enthusiastically. Trunks blinked in disbelief. They're arguing. About food? Piccolo sighed deeply. Some things never change. Just then, two glowing blue streaks soared upward and gently, but firmly, grabbed Naruko by her arms. She froze mid-motion, her confident grin quickly turning into a nervous smile. They landed back on the lookout, where two women stood with their arms crossed. Naruko, said Samui calmly. 21. Added 18, raising an eyebrow. Naruko gulped. Even with all her strength, there was one thing she found much harder to face than any challenge, being scolded by friends she respected. Who is this? Samui and 18 asked together, though their tone was more curious than angry. Dash. The sun dipped low in the sky, painting everything in soft shades of orange and gold. The lookout floated peacefully above the clouds, a quiet place where friends gathered to rest, think, and share moments together. Nearby, Samui slowly opened her eyes. She stretched gently, feeling a strange but comforting energy within her. It was as if she had been given a second chance, stronger and brighter than before. Her hand moved to her chest, where she remembered once being hurt. But now, there was no wound, only a faint warmth, like a memory that had healed. She looked around and noticed another girl nearby. It was Android 18. 18 stirred and sat up, brushing her hair back. "I need a shower," she said simply, glancing at her slightly messy clothes. Before that, Samui said gently, "You should know, Naruko is just having a friendly argument. She's completely fine." 18 paused, then smiled faintly. "Arguing about something silly again?" Samui nodded. "Something about ramen." 18 chuckled softly. "That sounds like her." The two walked together, exploring their surroundings. Though everything felt unfamiliar, there was a sense of calm in the air. "Who are you?" 18 asked after a moment. "Samui," she replied. "Though I think I was called 22 before." 18 considered this quietly, then nodded. "Well, whatever the past was, we're here now." Samui smiled. "And Naruko is here too. That's what matters." Back outside, Naruko sat cross-legged with Goku, both now laughing as they shared a steaming bowl of ramen together. "See?" Naruko said proudly. "Best solution, just enjoy both." Goku grinned. "Agreed." From a distance, Trunks shook her head, smiling despite herself. Piccolo crossed his arms, but even he looked a little less annoyed. High above the clouds, the lookout felt warmer than ever, not because of the sun, but because of the friendships growing stronger within it. And at the center of it all was Naruko, bright, kind, and full of heart, always ready to turn even the silliest disagreement into a moment of joy. Unrolling the scroll carefully, Samui tapped her finger gently against a small glowing symbol. A soft puff of white smoke appeared, and when it cleared, a neatly folded outfit rested in her hands. It looked comfortable and practical, with soft colors and a design that allowed easy movement. She handed it to 18 with a small smile. 18 looked it over with a nod of appreciation. "Not bad," she said. "This will work nicely." "I'll wait outside," Samui replied kindly. After a little while, 18 stepped out wearing the new outfit. It fit her perfectly, and she looked much more at ease than before. Samui smiled. "That suits you." 18 crossed her arms thoughtfully. "Now. Who are you, really?" Samui paused, her expression softening. "I'm not sure I remember everything," she admitted. "Sometimes it feels like I've lived a very long story, and parts of it are still hidden. But I know I'm here now, and that's what matters." 18 blinked, thinking carefully about her words. After a moment, she asked, "How do you know Naruko?" Samui's cheeks turned a little pink. "We spent a lot of time together," she said shyly. "She's very special to me." 18 felt a strange twist in her chest but kept her voice steady. "I care about her too," she said. "She has a way of making people feel understood." Samui looked surprised. "You do?" 18 nodded. "She's kind, even when she acts silly. And she never gives up on anyone." Samui smiled softly. "That sounds like her." For a moment, the two stood quietly, realizing they both cared deeply about the same person. Then 18 said, "Let's go find her. Instead of guessing, we should just talk to her." Samui agreed. "Yes. That's the best way." Together, they hurried off. Meanwhile, high above, Naruko was busy training, completely focused. She didn't notice the two approaching until they gently grabbed her hands to get her attention. "Naruko," Samui said. "Hey," 18 added. Naruko looked from one to the other, surprised. "You're both okay," she said with relief. Without thinking, she created a cheerful shadow clone of herself. The clone gave Samui a big, warm hug, while Naruko herself smiled at 18 and held her hand reassuringly. "I was worried about you," Naruko said. "I'm really glad you're both safe." Samui and 18 exchanged a glance. Their earlier tension slowly faded. "She really does care," Samui whispered. 18 nodded. "Yeah. She does." Naruko looked between them, tilting her head. "Did I miss something?" Samui and 18 both smiled. "Nothing important," 18 said. "We just wanted to see you," Samui added. Naruko grinned brightly. "Well, I'm right here. And since you're both here too, that makes this a great day." The three stood together, the breeze soft around them, as a quiet understanding formed. Sometimes, feelings could be confusing, but kindness, honesty, and friendship always helped guide the way. And Naruko, with her warm heart and unstoppable spirit, made sure no one ever felt alone. "I'm so glad you're all right," he whispered, relief filling his voice as he hugged her gently. Her body relaxed against him, and for a moment, everything felt safe. A few yards away, the clone was murmuring similar words to Samui, but Naruko barely noticed. Now that her eyes were clear, no longer clouded by anger, something about him felt different. Frowning, she peered up at him. The nervous, almost shy tone she remembered was gone. In its place was a calm, steady confidence, a quiet strength that made her heart skip. Naruko blinked, realization dawning. This wasn't just the same person she had known, it was someone new, someone who had grown. Her eyes traced the familiar features that were now sharper, taller, stronger. And yet, it was more than that. She could feel it in the air around him. He had changed. "You still haven't answered my question." 21, she said, her voice firmer now, though a soft warmth lingered from that last surprising kiss. Her finger pointed at Samui, demanding the truth. "That's right, Naruko," Samui said, stepping back from her own clone, though the older girl still seemed tangled in her own duplicate. Naruko noticed the happiness radiating from the doppelganger, and her curiosity sharpened. Naruko's companion frowned, sensing her tension. "Look, it's kind of a long story." "We have nothing but time," both girls said together, exchanging a determined glance. For a moment, the young ninja hesitated, memories flickering in her mind. But then she remembered Goku, the way he could read thoughts with just a touch. Perhaps there was a way to share the truth without words. "All right," Naruko said finally. "Hold still. This will only take a few seconds." Before either girl could respond, she gently placed her hands on their heads. Closing her eyes, she focused. Energy began to flow, gentle and warm, wrapping them in a cocoon of her life story. Flashes of her memories, her struggles, and her triumphs shimmered in their minds. Naruko saw the surprise on their faces as understanding bloomed. They were experiencing her story, not just the battles, but the quiet moments, the laughter, the friendships, and the love she carried for both of them. Each memory was a bridge, connecting hearts across time. And then came the part she had never shared with anyone, the first time she had truly seen them, the small gestures, the moments she had cherished silently. She could feel their emotions, and they could feel hers. It was a gentle, radiant truth, one that could not be denied. When Naruko finally lifted her hands, she looked at them. "Do you understand now?" Naruko's heart swelled as she saw comprehension dawn in their eyes. Samui's icy calm had softened, and even the younger girl's defensiveness had melted into something warmer.
I understand," Naruko whispered quietly, reaching for her hand.
"Even if it means sharing, I don't want to let go." "As shall I," Samui said, holding the other hand. Naruko smiled, relieved. "I wouldn't dream of it," she said softly. The rift between them wasn't gone, but the distance had shrunk. It was a start, a beginning of something beautiful. Piccolo's sharp voice interrupted the quiet. "I have a question for your friend over there," he said, pointing. Both girls flushed, turning their attention back to her. Naruko's heart fluttered, but this time, it was a happy, safe kind of flutter. She had faced fear, confusion, and uncertainty before. Now, she faced something different, understanding, connection, and the simple joy of being together. "When you fought Cell, you were a superpowered warrior, weren't you?" Piccolo asked. There was a pause, but Naruko's gaze only softened, shining with the quiet courage and strength that had brought her here. "Yes," she said gently, smiling. "But it wasn't just power, it was love and friendship that guided me. That's what truly makes us strong." And in that moment, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm light over the three friends, wrapping them in hope, trust, and the promise of many adventures yet to come. "Huh?" Gohan blinked, looking utterly bewildered. "Wait. What did you just say?" "I was wondering the same thing," Goku said, scratching his head. "You definitely have this amazing energy. But how can you have it if you're not fully human?" "Oh, that," Naruko said with a small, thoughtful nod. "I can transform, yes. Blame the doctor who helped build me. Most of the time I look human, and for a while, I even believed I was, but now that my memories have returned, I finally understand. I was originally a shinobi, just like my friend Samui. Unlike the others, though, we were rebuilt with a mix of science and magic, something more." "So what are you then?" Trunks asked, furrowing his brow. "Are you an android? Or something else?" Naruko shrugged, her golden hair catching the sunlight. "I'm a little bit of everything. My body is mostly made of something called Saiyan DNA, and a little bit of my old shinobi self still remains. Samui has some of it too, she added with a playful nudge, glancing at her friend. Piccolo's antenna twitched, though he didn't comment, watching as Naruko continued. I still have all my old skills and knowledge, but I also carry this new energy inside me. It's part of what lets me do amazing things, she said, her eyes sparkling. I'm curious if the doctor ever tried this with anyone else. Maybe one day we'll find out. Can you show us? 18 asked, a little skeptical but curious. You've only just regained this power. Can you really transform? Naruko's grin lit up her face. Of course. But don't worry, I'll be careful. No one's going to get hurt. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, feeling the warm, glowing energy inside her stir. Her hair lifted as if caught in a gentle breeze, and a soft, golden light surrounded her. When she opened her eyes again, they glimmered like teal gems, and her aura shimmered with a brilliant warmth. The friends around her gasped. Wow, Gohan whispered. She's glowing. Naruko twirled in place, letting the light swirl around her. It feels incredible. Like I can reach for the stars. Tien's 3 eyes blinked in astonishment. She's amazing. How is she doing that? Piccolo could only shake his head in awe. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's not even all of it, Naruko said, her grin widening. She took a deep breath, letting her joy and determination pour into her next transformation. Her light flared brighter, sparkling like tiny lightning bolts, though it was gentle and radiant rather than frightening. Her hair seemed to shimmer even more, and her energy felt like a warm wind brushing past everyone's faces. This is my Super Saiyan 2 form, she explained, floating slightly above the ground. It happens when I push myself with happiness, courage, and determination. Goku chuckled, eyes twinkling. Well, that's incredible, Naruko. Naruko laughed, spinning gracefully in the air. And I can go even further if I keep believing in myself and my friends. Watch this. With another deep breath, she reached for the deepest, happiest memories in her heart, the laughter of friends, the pride of helping someone in need, and the warmth of her family and village. A soft, sparkling golden light enveloped her completely. Her hair glowed even more brightly, flowing like sunlight, and her aura radiated pure joy and kindness. Everyone around her was mesmerized. This wasn't just a transformation, they realized it was a celebration of who Naruko was, brave, kind, and endlessly curious. And there we go, she said gently, landing gracefully. This is me at my best. But you know what? I don't need to be perfect. I just need to keep learning, keep growing, and have fun along the way. Gohan's eyes shone. She's incredible. And so inspiring. Naruko smiled at each of her friends. Remember, everyone has a little light inside them. You just have to believe in it and let it shine. That's what makes us strong, not just our powers, but our hearts. And with that, the friends laughed, cheered, and felt a little brighter themselves, inspired by Naruko's glowing courage, ready to explore the world together with joy, friendship, and wonder. Sorry that took so much longer than the others. Naruko lifted her head, her golden hair catching the sunlight like a halo. But I haven't had much chance to practice this one. I call it Super Bright Mode. Her appearance was dazzling, like a shooting star had come to life. The light around her shimmered and sparkled, making the lookout tower seem tiny in comparison. Everyone around her blinked, trying to adjust to the glow. Super Bright Mode? Samui exclaimed, shielding her eyes, while 18 tilted her head in awe. Trunks' jaw nearly dropped. How? How is she still standing after all that light? Naruko giggled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I know I look a little extra. But isn't it fun? Her voice was warm, full of excitement. I think she needs a haircut, Samui commented calmly, trying not to be blinded by the radiance. Quite, 18 added, smirking. Naruko pouted playfully. Oi! It's not my fault I shine this much. And I definitely can't cut all this hair, it's magical hair. Trunks swallowed nervously. But you wouldn't hurt anyone, right? Of course not. Naruko clapped her hands together. If I hurt someone, I'd never get my ramen back. Ramen is sacred, you know. Absolutely sacred. Goku chuckled. Don't forget, someone might be sneaking your ramen already. Impossible. Naruko's eyes widened in mock horror. No one touches my ramen. Not a single noodle. Even as her energy slowly faded, leaving her kneeling for a moment, Samui and 18 rushed to her side. We've got you, 18 said. But honestly, you're amazing. Naruko smiled, brushing off her friend's concern. Yeah, Super Bright Mode is incredible, but I can only keep it for 10 minutes before my energy starts running low. Super bright mode is flashy, but super sparkle mode is more practical for adventures. Trunks frowned, frustration in his eyes. Because of you, we couldn't save my father. Naruko tilted her head, her glow softening. I didn't know that. But you know, sometimes it's not about changing the past. It's about shining bright now and making today better. Your father would want you to be happy, don't you think? 18 stepped forward, her voice firm but kind. And even if the past is hard, we can always grow stronger together. Right, Naruko? Right. Naruko cheered. She grabbed 18's hand, then Samui's, her energy filling the air with warmth instead of fear. Together, we can do anything. And I promise, no more scary surprises. Samui laughed softly. That's quite enough excitement for one day. But you really are something else. Naruko winked, a mischievous sparkle in her eyes. Which is why I'll always protect my friends. And my ramen. Female courage is truly amazing, 18 whispered, squeezing her hand gently. And that, Naruko said with a grin, is why adventures are always the best when we face them together. Goku shook his head with a smile. Well, maybe we should spend an extra day training in the hyperbolic time chamber. Just to keep up with her. Yeah, Gohan added, watching Naruko's glowing hair dance in the sunlight. Being around her makes you want to be your very best. Naruko spun happily, her light sparkling like tiny stars around her. Come on, everyone. Let's go find more adventures. And maybe some ramen along the way. The wind caught her hair, the laughter of friends echoing around the lookout, and the world felt brighter already. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Your support means a lot. Thank you for being part of this journey. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.